As the demolition drive in Bengaluru continues, Pathankot Martyr Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan's home just might also be razed as part of the ongoing drive. The family of the martyr now face the huge challenge of losing their house that Niranjan lived in. The family built this house between 2002 to 2004, having no idea about that storm drain that runs underneath their home. The presence of the drain only came to light after the municipal bodies conducted that survey. The family of the martyr are completely devastated over the fear of losing Niranjan's home.
Our compound would be demolished in that case, but we haven't got any prior notice before this. If at all we would have actually done something for our house. I think it's a shame for Niranjan's house to get demolished like this, and it's a shame for our country.
Prabodh?
He laid down his life for the country, and we are repaying him by rendering his loved ones homeless. The kin of Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan, who was martyred in the Pathankot attack, are now fighting to preserve the last memory of their loved one. Their home in Vidyaranyapura faces the bulldozer's wrath, having been constructed on a stormwater drain. They can barely sleep now, worried every minute that their house will be razed down in a matter of seconds.
When we got this house, we weren't knowing that the Raj Kalwe is going towards our pillar. And right now, when they just surveyed and showed us, we got to know that part of our portion is actually included in the Raj Kalwe. That pillar is actually a standing stone for this house. And if that gets demolished, then the whole house will go under shake.
This room is the family's most precious memory of Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan. It was built just for him after he got married.
It's tragedy after tragedy for the family of Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan, the man who died during the Pathankot attack in April this year. And the family is absolutely devastated with the fact that even the room that was built for him during his marriage will also come crashing down, especially with the demolition drive that is being initiated by the municipal bodies.
With no warning and no help from authorities, Niranjan's family is left in the lurch.
See, they are losing the entire house. They are having only this one property, so the entire property is going now. See, they were 20 or 30 years, what they earned, the money they put for this property, and in just a fraction of a second, the demolition going is, where they will go?
In a matter of seconds, they stand to lose all that they've built with love and sweat for the last 15 years. And with no help in sight, this slain martyr's family is left betrayed, alone in their battle against the civic bodies. Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for India Today.
Let's go straight now to Pratibha Raman. Pratibha, it's so tragic that like Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan, so many other families are just staring at such a dark future. Their lives have been completely shattered. I mean, it's shocking. Questions need to be asked that why did the authorities just wake up one day and conduct this sort of a survey, which the residents claim is absolutely obsolete and archaic?
Well, it's not just the fact that they woke up only in a matter of 1 or 2 days, but the fact that for the last 30 years, there's absolutely nothing that has happened. A line of at least about 90 buildings right behind me that are now marked to be razed down. At least about 10 of them have already been demolished in a span of 24 hours. And one can imagine, the devastation that the family is undergoing at this point in time to see their dream homes come crashing down, number one. Number two, all their life savings that has gone into it. Number two, all of them having approvals, having those plans and stating that why did they actually approve all of this when the officials are to be blamed? Why should the citizens bear the brunt of it all? And when it comes to the family of Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan, it's tragedy after tragedy. In April, they lost Niranjan for the country, and now they are also going to be prepared to lose all his memories of the room that was once built during Niranjan's marriage. And
yes,
that room will come crashing down once the pillar is broken, and they find that the pillar which actually supports the room should actually be demolished at this point in time because it stands right over the stormwater drain, and the family claims that they weren't really aware of this. So what you see behind me is this building that has been demolished, and right behind this is Niranjan's house. So it's a 1 kilometer stretch of this stormwater drain that goes from here to the Dodda Bommasandra lake, and one can imagine the trauma that the family is undergoing at this point in time. They are in fact waiting for the officials to come here so that they could seek time and tell them that, you know, they need some amount of time so that they could do it themselves, because the entire crashing of that pillar would actually tantamount to at least half of the home that will be gone. So they could actually restructure and rebuild the home, modify it accordingly, is what they are promising the officials. So all eyes are on how considerate the officials are going to be in the case of Niranjan, who actually sacrificed his life for the country.
Absolutely. And tell me something, Pratibha, that's the bigger question. It's not only the monetary and the financial part of it. I mean, just seeing your house being broken down by bulldozers in front of you is also how your dreams, your life's experiences in that home just lay shattered in front of you. And that, in fact, must be something so traumatic for the residents to witness, isn't it?
Well, in fact, there are three main grouses that has been expressed by several of the citizens here. One, the fact that the 1908 map that is used as a point of reference, because where we are standing in right now is called the Vidyaranyapura, which is actually one of those parts that is included in the greater Bengaluru. So how can a map that belongs to the British era be used as a point of reference here in this particular case? And number two, absolutely no intimation given to several of these citizens here. So in the afternoon, if the marking is done at about 1 o'clock, in a matter of 2 hours, the entire building comes crashing down, not even giving them space to move their stuff outside. And that has caused a lot of trauma for several of the citizens here. And number three, the point being that there is absolutely no compensation given, because they have been paying the property tax for all these years. They have been repaying all their loans for several of the stories that have been built with respect to their houses. No compensation given. Officials are to be blamed. Why should the citizens suffer? These are some of the questions that are being pointed. Several fingers being pointed at the officials, but absolutely no action being taken on that front, except for the fact that 30 officials are being booked. But will there be any kind of stringent action? Will that actually compensate for the loss that is undergone by the citizens here? These are the questions.
But, you know, Pratibha, if no compensation is also being given to the residents for the kind of demolition that's taking place, or no extra land is being provided to them, why are the residents not going to court and seeking a stay on this demolition drive that is going on?
Well, in fact, there is absolutely no time given. One, the fact that when the citizens go to them with the approvals and the plans, try to talk it out with the officials are not really giving them enough space to actually voice their concerns out and to actually check those approvals and plans, number one. Number two, they aren't even giving them enough time to actually go to the court and approach it and solve it legally.
Pratibha, just stay with me.
No time. So immediately,
just stay with me. We have CEO Biocom Kiran Majumdar-Shaw. Ma'am, thank you so much for speaking to us on India Today. We've been reporting, extensively on the kind of demolition drive that has been executed by the authorities. What are your reactions to what you're seeing happening in the city of Bengaluru?
Well, I think, this is a very, very difficult situation, because it is about, you're damned if you do it, you're damned if you don't do it. I mean, basically, it's about law enforcement and the issue about a very, very unholy nexus between builders and the government officials, which has been going on for a very, very, very long time. And I think it's come to a breaking point where you know that a lot of violations have happened in terms of building laws. And there comes a point in time where the government has to take a very, very hard decision to basically come down on this unholy nexus. And unfortunately, people are the victims. These are innocent victims of an unholy nexus. Now, personally, if you ask me, if you can actually levy hefty fines on those builders who have actually indulged in these kind of things knowingly, because I don't even know whether these violations have happened knowingly or unknowingly. Now, if it's unknowingly if it has happened unknowingly, then obviously it's a very, very different picture.
Well, which is the claim of the residents. They had absolutely no idea that their houses were being constructed over the stormwater drains.
One minute. This is not about the residents. The residents obviously are innocent victims because they don't know
talking about the
what is
builders and
happening.
bureaucrats?
I am talking about the builders.
Okay.
If the builders have built these buildings knowingly and know that they are flouting rules and that they are actually violating all the building norms, then those builders have to be dealt with in a very severe manner. Arrest them, cancel their licenses and levy hefty fines on them to get back their licenses, and use those fines to actually compensate those innocent victims who have bought those properties. To at least to some extent they can recover something, which obviously they may not be able to get everything back.
Yes.
But how do you deal with these kind of situations? Does the government continue to sort of turn a blind eye and see the city completely destroyed? Because we've seen it. The stormwater drains are totally built upon, encroached. You've seen lakes being encroached. You're seeing a lot of building violations, and you know that all this is going on because of this unholy nexus. What do? Do you just sort of say, okay, for the interest of the people, we should not do anything? Or should you say, no, it's about time we did law enforcement, and yes, there are some people who are going to be unfortunate victims and innocent victims of the law enforcement that we take.
But ma'am, don't you think it's a bit unfair, and the kind of demolition drive that they have
Unfortunately, in any of these
executed?
matters, there will be unfairness. What is fair in life? You tell me. If somebody has violated a norm,
but basic,
and an innocent victim has been.
But prior intimation and notification could have been given to the residents. I mean, after all, it's not about just building a house. It's about your life experiences.
But I'll tell you something. I think there have been in the past these kind of demolition drives in Bangalore. I know that about 10 years ago there was a huge demolition drive in Koramangala where a large number of buildings were demolished again because of building violations. There was a lot of hue and cry, but at the end of the day, the situation was that people, I think many people know that they are in the wrong, but they want to hide behind these kind of issues where they say that they have been unfairly targeted. But I think if you look at it, I would say 60% of the people know that they are wrong. Okay, there will be 40% who are unfortunate victims. But as a government, as citizens, what do? You tell me. Yes, it's always unfortunate that there will be unfortunate.
But they can always be compensated as well.
Yeah,
they can be given land in another area to build their homes. There can be prior notification. There can be enough, information that can be given to them.
Please understand, we cannot just comment without knowing the nitty-gritty details. Yeah. Are these people homeless? Are these people? Is this a second home? We don't know. You see. So we need to get the granular details of every victim of such a demolition and see who needs to be compensated.
But do you think that kind of research, that kind of homework has been done, ma'am, by the state government before they have executed this demolition drive?
I don't think they are in a position to do that because they have to take a decision based on law. Okay? This is a decision taken on the basis of a law where they have seen encroachment, where they have seen building violations. And when they have to come down heavily on it, then they cannot start looking at the nitty-gritty details. I can tell you, I have seen many lake encroachments done by citizens, okay, where we have actually informed the government officials saying, look, we are already seeing some lake encroachment. When you go and tell those builders that, look, this is encroaching on a lake, they basically say, to hell with you. We have got permission from the officials. So who are you to tell us this? Now, this is being done knowingly. No. You understand?
So why shouldn't those bureaucrats...
And the officials, both the officials and the
Yes,
builders,
so why shouldn't they pay the price for it? Why shouldn't they be sacked? Why shouldn't the ministers be removed?
That's exactly what they're trying to do. That's what they're trying to do. In fact, they're looking at all the officials who have given these permissions. This has been going on over time. So we need to look at who are the guys who are really going to be affected. Who are the people? Who are the builders who are really going to be affected? Have they just built and run away? We don't know all these things. So I can't answer these questions. But at the end of the day, I think this is a very grave situation for the country, for, not just Bangalore. Because I really think that there is a huge unholy nexus which has to be broken. Yes, there are going to be unfortunate victims. I feel very, very sorry for them. And I think the government has to compensate such people. But at the end of the day, do you enforce law or don't you enforce law? I think that's the bigger question. And as media, as a citizen, do you want law enforcement or not?
Right. We'll have to look at it from all angles.
Law enforcement,
Ma'am, do you think...
Okay, you can keep on having these issues forever and ever.
Okay, if I may just ask you, do you think that this demolition drive is, a mere eyewash, or do you think that perhaps the time has come that the state government has realized and is taking a real interest, a genuine interest to ensure that the city is cleaned of all the encroachments that have happened over the years?
I think it is a wake-up call that the government has taken. They have realized that there has been far too many encroachments, and they've been turning a blind eye to very, very illegal and corrupt practices in the city. And I think there has been an approach saying, okay, let's try and put an end to this.
All right, Ms. Kiran Majumdar-Shaw, thank you so much for speaking to us on India Today. The visuals that we're showing you is of the Pathankot Martyr, Lieutenant Colonel Niranjan, his family. They're fighting to ensure that their house could be saved, because even their house has been built on one of the stormwater drains and they had absolutely no idea about it. Pratibha is with us. Pratibha, I'm not sure if you got a chance to hear my conversation with Kiran Majumdar-Shaw. She's someone who's very vocal about her opinions, which she expressed on her channel as well. Now tell me, Pratibha, I just wanted to understand from you, all these buildings that have faced the bulldozer, did they ever have an inclination that, there have been violations in the past, or that the house is being built on those stormwater drains?
Well, in fact, I would say it is a mixed reaction. Yes, some of them did have an idea that it was built on stormwater drain, but then the measurement that was given to them is wrong. So if the official has told them to leave about 3 feet and build the entrance of their house, that is what they have done. But then finally, when you actually take the real map and find out the actual measurement of it, it actually works out to much more than that 3 feet gap. So that is when reality sinks in, and that is when people realize, the gross mistake that has been done by several of these officials in terms of approving their plans by violating several of these facts and figures there in the forms that have been given to several of these residents. But the fact also remains that there is definitely a nexus between several of the builders as well as the politicians. So many of these citizens claim, why are the bigger builders left out? There are speculation doing the rounds with regards to several of the malls as well as apartment complexes, gated communities that are actually sitting on gateways, but absolutely no action being taken on that front. And that is the bigger question here. When there is a wake-up call and when the government is actually initiating action on the basis of law and a court order that is there, why are these bigger people left out? So the rich gets to sit quietly watching all the fun, but then...
All right. Yes, those are some big questions that need to be asked to the government. Pratibha, thanks so much for joining us.